MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
Hey, welcome you all. This is a MedBix Webcast. I'm the host, Ramana Anam. Yes, I'm not Albert Einstein, but I'm pretty good. So, welcome. We have an exciting guest today, Dr. Tamayo-Sarver, and Dr. Joshua Tamayo-Sarver is longer than my last name. That's my name. Usually Indian names go off of my long. He can compete with us. But after that, I'm going to talk about entropy, a concept of enigmatic concept of an entropy. It is everywhere around us, and we don't recognize it. That is a very strange about the entropy concept. You must recognize, because you know why we need to understand the entropy if you want to be a leader in your industry. Particularly, it's such an enigmatic concept. It is everywhere around us, but we don't see it. So that's what I'm going to bring to the up front to the table. So we're going to talk about, this program is I started almost 6 months ago, and it is a lot of work, but I'm also enjoying it. It's very blessing in fact. Okay, let me introduce you without any further ado. Let me introduce you my guest, Dr. Tamayo-Sarver, Dr. Joshua Tamayo-Sarver. He's from Ohio. He's very different. He's an emergency room physician, but he's also a PhD in biostatistics, which I love. I'm in the science field and the mathematics, which is my background. So that is, we're going to ask him what is the biostatistics, what they do. They design studies for the clinical trials, or we're going to ask him a little bit of all those questions. Then let me introduce him, and let me bring him to the table, and he can. Welcome, Dr. Joshua Tamayo-Sarver.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, up to this point, your journey.
Yeah. So clinically, I'm an emergency physician. And then, like you mentioned, I also have a PhD background in statistics. Largely what I do now is I do a lot of product development in healthcare. And I realized the other day that I wrote my first software that was sold into healthcare in 1991, so a while ago. It wasn't very good, but it did sell, so that was good. Yeah. And I've been doing that ever since.
Interesting. So what is a biostatistics? What you did exactly is a computational biology? Is this different than a biostatistics? So explain to our audience and myself, even we don't know exactly what the biostatistics field is.
Yeah, so my area of biostatistics was largely large data analysis, and specifically within large data analysis, looking at hierarchical modeling within large data analysis. So the area that I was most interested in was usually physician behavior, performance, and decision-making. And so if you look at 5 different physicians, in most statistical models, you really need them to be independent, but they may work in the same specialty, in the same department, in the same hospital. And so then it's multi-level modeling, where you have one level of the model is the individual physician, and then above that is the department that they're in, and above that's the hospital that they're in, and then region, and however else you want to cut it.
Yeah. So you mean to say that you're studying the statistical behavior of the physicians. It's how it plays important, what kind of a role it plays towards the health of the patient.
Yeah, well, obviously the goal of everything, is to try and make patients healthier and feel cared for and feel connected and happier. One of the ways that you do that is you make the system better, and the system involves, access to the system. It involves nurses, it involves ancillary staff, it involves access to medications, but it also involves the medical care that they get from the physicians.
I used to see a lot of doctors, one of the things I noticed among the doctors is their calmness, their balance of mind is extraordinary. There is an excellent training. But even that is getting trained, that is getting tested now through the during the pandemic, after pandemic. The system is stressed, and then that is the effect is showing the effect on physicians and the nurses and the staff itself. So you're diving into the field that is really dear to me, because I was placing a lot of doctors. I need to know what their conditions of the, they want to see the culture, they want to see there are other things that they need to pay attention to, not just career paths. So their behavior is actually extremely important in that sense. So you were doing that is I didn't know that biostatistics can pay attention to the behavior of the patients and behavior of the providers and the nurses and the technicians, everybody, all the healthcare professionals. That's a very important data in my view. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think, understanding what's going on is the first step to changing anything.
So you're trying to. So what is? Let me ask you a question about. Do you in those studies that you did about the doctors, and then you're testing the doctors are getting frustrated when you go, with you already being tested in the residency program. You go 48 hours to 72 hours. Now, what kind of stresses you are facing now as emergency room physician now?
I'm not sure that I completely understand the
So
question, but
what are the behaviors affecting right now after the pandemic, the patient's behavior and other things affecting the doctors, right? They're getting burnout. What are the factors, what kind of factors, critical factors, causing that burnout for the physicians?
so I think it's multifactorial. I think some of the burnout is related to burdens that we have that don't feel like they're value add to the patient, and a lot of those burdens are administrative, and a lot of the administrative burdens are around quality metrics. So for example, there's metrics around whether or not I order a CT scan, right, an appropriate use criteria, or AUC, on a patient, which it seems like a good idea. But then that system gets implemented, and so now I have a patient who comes in with a stroke, and I need to very rapidly get a CT scan of their head to see if it's a stroke and see what we need to do about it. And some of my time is now spent like 5 minutes clicking on all the different fields to say that I should in fact be getting a CT scan in an acute stroke, when I'm trying to take care of the patient who's decompensating at the same time that there are other patients. And that the idea was that we were going to implement that so that we weren't wasting resources on imaging, which is clearly a good intention. And then ultimately the hospitals implemented it. And then ultimately it looks like CMS probably won't implement it as a financial penalty anyway, but now they've already implemented it. So basically I'm clicking lots of buttons instead of taking care of the patient, and feeling pressure not to let my patient die at the same time that I have to get the buttons clicked so that the CT scanner will roll.
Excellent point. I have a doctor friend, he got the next gen EMR, electronic medical records. So you told me he was dreadful going to the exam room because he doesn't know what the buttons that he's pressing, and then what could happen if he press it wrong. That is under more pressure than looking at the patient. That is a bigger problem. That is, they never thought about it in this when they were designing this EMRs, and also they what do you think, why they didn't take that into consideration? There's so many buttons, they got to press it, and EMRs, they didn't care because they wanted to get the data first. That's what is their goal, and how they solve that problem. Even still, that is a problem, if you think.
So I think you can look at it from the perspective of the EMRs, and if you think that EMR is really to be a medical legal record of what transpired and a platform for billing, it actually does a really good job of that, right? I mean, it functions reasonably well for that. There's been note bloat and other things that make it a lot harder now over time, but originally it was actually a pretty reasonable medical legal record and allowed for billing. I think the problem is that as a physician or a nurse or any clinician interacting with the system, you don't want a billing system to interact with. You want a workflow system or a workflow tool. And it wasn't built to be a workflow tool, and it's not a workflow tool. And we're still upset that it's not a workflow tool, but it isn't. and we keep using it as a workflow tool, and then we're upset. So I think, from the builder's perspective, they were building a medical legal system and a billing system, and they did, and they were happy with it. And then we used it and we said, we need a workflow tool. And they said, well, for one, that's not what we built. And for another, it's already sold. Why would we invest more money to
More
not get a
money.
sale? Right. So
As you're a physician, you go to different ER departments, different hospitals. When you go, do you have to learn different systems all one place you pick, another place is next gen? Do you have this a big challenge and pressure on you about that learning different EMRs?
yeah, and I'm a VP at Vituity, and we're a physician staffing organization. We obviously do a lot of other things like innovation and such. That's cool and
I'll
exciting.
come back to that.
But at our core, we're a staffing organization. We staff 450 different hospitals, and so that's a lot of different EHRs to interact with.
That is a lot of pressure on providers, right? To learn. I am familiar with Epic, but I don't know next gen. This hospital has a next gen. I got to learn that one. That is subliminal way. That is a pressure for the doctors. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and a barrier for we're talking about non-compete clauses and things like that, but it's certainly a barrier to moving from one system to another when you have to learn a new EHR system and most physicians are pretty good at figuring out their workarounds and their shortcuts for things. And once you have them established at one place, it's kind of a pain to have to recreate them at another.
Let me ask about the non-compete clause. You're coming from a different angle. You're representing a company. They want to implement the non-compete clause, but the physicians don't want that. So how do you balance that out, the non-compete clause?
You mean how do we balance whether or not
the
you can
physicians don't
enforce a
want it,
non-compete clause on a physician?
How do you get the doctors to convince? So this is always a big contentious issue, right? The non-compete clause.
I think it depends on which group and in what setting. For us as an organization, it's not been a big issue.
But I heard that there is a policy there is a bill there that they want to take it out the non-compete non-compete clause. Let me ask you about this licensing process, because you are now innovation. You're on the other side of the administrative side. So if you send a doctor with a license in California, if you send it to Georgia, it won't work. So that interstate licenses, can you get the interstate licenses still valid, those kind of things?
So during COVID, there were some exemptions or some permissions where if you were licensed in one state, you could work in another. And there's been some work that's going on with the medical societies in the different states to try and open that up, but it's not particularly open right now. So I'm licensed in like 25 or 30 states because we have so many national contracts and so many innovative things that we're doing. As part of that, I go to the fingerprint place, and every state needs 2 fingerprints. So I stand there for 2 hours while I get 100 sets of fingerprints done. So that
not only that, you're submitting
sense.
a large number of documents, right, for every state, and then that is you have to submit usual credentialing is a bigger isn't it bigger issue?
Yeah, and I think it started out as state regulated, which made sense. But ultimately, it doesn't seem like the states have different requirements for the most part. Like I think I had to take an exam when I was being licensed in Texas, and I think one state I had to make sure I understood not to have sex with my patients and sign something to that effect. I think those have been like the main changes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's pretty much the same requirements everywhere, and so you're just writing more checks to medical license boards.
So that's a lot of
and getting fingerprinted a lot.
You have 25 states. You're not doing any teleradiology. 25 state license is a lot of huge fee that you're paying every year or every 2 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's non-trivial.
Yeah, it's I wanted when I come back and ask you as innovations, what kind of innovation? I'm going to present the topic entropy. After that, I'm going to come back and ask you what kind of innovation tools you're thinking about doing in the HR, human resources, for the doctor's side and in the nurses side. I will ask you to come back. Let me talk about the presentation, about my presentation. You will be watching along with me, okay? So let me put it next to each other, and then we can see the okay. So we're watching. This is the entropy. I'm going to talk about the enigmatic concept of entropy. I'm going to play a video, just introduction to the entropy concept. You must pay attention to entropy because it is really gives you very huge insights into your behavior, the institutional behavior, and it helps. In fact, let me play that video first, and then I will be coming back to the presentation.
Hello, my name is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm going to introduce you to one of the most enigmatic and elusive concepts in the entire field of science from my book, Science is Not a Subject, Science Must Be a Lifestyle. The concept is called entropy. I'm focusing on one aspect of entropy related to information and its connection with the present-day healthcare challenges. Entropy is like a ghost, but it is a mean one. You don't see it, you cannot talk to it, it never leaves you, it threatens your job, it tries to destroy your health, it affects your performance, it follows you wherever you go and whatever you do. You feel and see only its destruction. It is not your competitor you need to worry. You need to worry about this elusive ghost. It is your enemy number one. Please pay attention. It makes a difference in your career, in your job, and your duties. If you are a policymaker, you have to understand the impact of money and the economy of your citizens. If you are the CEO of a healthcare system, you have to be concerned about access and equity for all your members. And if you are a software engineer, you need to analyze simplicity versus complexity with your user experience design. As I mentioned before, entropy is your number one enemy. It is true what they say, know your enemy first, then you can come up with a strategy to deal with it. We need to start with the question how much you know and how much you don't know about a system you're working on. This is not some philosophical or a new age question. You have to quantify with the numbers. It is a scientific question to the core. The answer is not that easy. Fortunately, there was a guy smarter than all of us, gave a stunning insight. His name is Ludwig Boltzmann, an Austrian physicist, lived in the latter part of 1800s, came up with a statistical formula for known versus unknown. It is not just a formula, it is a law, second law of thermodynamics. In urban slang, we call it as a law of entropy. The law is not limited to known versus unknown, it is present everywhere, materials and processes and even life itself. Entropy is a true measure of your ignorance of a system. You may say, I don't know a lot of things, but I know what I know, and what I don't know, I don't know. This statement may seem right before you know about the law of entropy. The law of entropy says the unknown does not sit idle. It is constantly attacking your known systems. Entropy wants you to become ignorant and leaves you in constant confusion. It creates a chaos, your understanding of any system dwindling every day by law of entropy. Only way out is to fight it. Entropy is a tough concept to comprehend. I will do my best here with a simple example. You see a picture of a teacup with the 2 sugar cubes in the bottom and the top teacup is mixed with the sugar. Adding 2 cubes of sugar makes you happier, but your happiness does not come for free. I know sugar prices are going up. Still worse, the law of entropy says your ignorance is also going up. You have known knowledge that there are 2 sugar cubes. Since you know something makes the bottom cup low entropy state. Now, when you mix the sugar, you turn the simple system into a complex system. Even if I ask you, you cannot get sugar cubes back. Sugar is melted away and you lost all the information about the sugar cubes. The irreversibility of the process increases the state of entropy. In a split second, you made the top cup in a higher entropy state. Known system became an unknown. Just it applies to a teacup, this irreversibility is evident everywhere and everything you do. A simple realization that if you create a process for your company with some data variables, the complexity slowly seeps in. It means you lost control of your process and the information becomes chaotic. But if you keep tabs on what it takes to reverse the process to the initial state, it saves you time, money, and energy. You are keeping the ghost of entropy at bay. Life itself is a low entropy system. Zoom in or zoom out, your cells to your entire body do hand-to-hand combat with the law of entropy to keep you healthy and alive. Your number one enemy is waiting at outskirts of your life and your company. Boltzmann revealed this book of knowledge and wisdom about the universe with his famous equation. He could not convince his peers about his theory. Later, Boltzmann committed suicide, and his famous formula was written on his tombstone. Devil also, like numbers. Chaos may be its nickname, but it is speaking the nature's language, that is mathematics. Cancer is cellular chaos. There is no diagnostic equipment can measure the exact progression, but with the entropy algorithms, you can extract patterns from seemingly chaotic information. One such algorithm came from an unrelated field, football. Yes, game of soccer. Soccer fanatics wanted to know who is going to win the World Cup that is being held every 4 years. The fans include a number of scientists. They created an algorithm called World Cup Optimization Algorithm. I don't know how much it is useful in predicting the World Cup winner, but it is helping to detect and predict the progression of cancer. They are testing with the cancer of melanoma and breast cancer. Boltzmann gave the formula for entropy, but a brilliant mathematician and engineer at the Bell Labs, which became AT&T now, gave a different twist to the concept of entropy. His name is Claude Elwood Shannon. The theory bears his name. It is called a Shannon entropy. According to Shannon, the information is central to all processes.
Did, which I think he's very widely known for, is this notion of a fundamental limit. No matter what you do, as long as you're working with a certain amount of bandwidth, and as long as you're dealing with signals that are only so strong in the face of noise that you confront, no matter what you do, you cannot transmit more than a certain rate.
Here is one remarkable example how you can employ Shannon entropy to healthcare equity and access. The world of medicine made a huge progress in diagnostics and treatments, but healthcare delivery systems are not. A significant number of people on the planet don't see those benefits. Health inequities you can witness in rural and urban America's landscape, and worse, everywhere else. Health delivery system is riddled with complexities. It may be partially political, but it is also filled with logistical complexities. Variants like remote geography, disease burden, and economic backgrounds, to name a few. Where there is a complexity, law of entropy shines. Shannon entropy is successfully utilized by countries like Iran, Turkey, and Greece to address the inequities in healthcare delivery by allocating and utilizing existing resources more efficiently. Truly a remarkable tribute to human mind how an obscure 18th century physicist from Austria and 21st century brilliant mathematician from MIT can help humanity by discovering the hidden laws of nature. Thank you for listening. You can read in my book further. Science is not a subject, science must be a lifestyle.
Yes, I'm going to. That's a video that I present today. I'm going to give a brief description about this entropy. It's a gateway to hell, basically. I'm going to do a funny talk a little bit. Entropy is connected with how it's connected with the Twitter. Nowadays, everybody is talking about how it is connected to demons, ghosts, and the aging process. How it is connected to the aging process. It is connected to the universe. It is connected with the gods. It connected with the software. It is connected with the Bob. I'm going to start with the fictional character Bob first, and then see. So to explain the entropy concept, entropy always increases. That is the key. So I'm using the Bob as a scapegoat. It's a Bob likes Tuesday tacos. Like for $10, you get 10 of them. So he has a credit card. He uses a credit card for that to buy those tacos. This is to explain how the entropy works, just to get a basic idea of entropy. So you pay to the credit card company $10.25. That 25 cents is a debt. It goes there, you know. So then he loves that tacos, and then he got to talk with his friends. So you got to call them. So you need a iPhone. It's $1,000. So that is that the interest rate is 11.25. The total is $125 he's paid. It's increasing. His lifestyle is increasing. His demands are increasing. So then he needs to pick up all these tacos. That's another. He is buying for $30,000 pickup truck. That's almost you're paying an interest rate of 5,125. So you see on the right hand side, this slowly increasing. Life itself is adding the debt. That is the entropy. Value of entropy goes always like that. It's a very strange concept, but its concept is that debt that is going there is actually debt to the credit card company is always increasing as long as he lives. Only time he doesn't do anything, probably he doesn't add anything and remains same, is when he's sleeping. So it's a very strangely connected disorder, ignorance, and debt. They're all strangely connected together. So that is the entropy. So just to get an idea how the entropy is connected to the Bob, I just gave you an example. I hope you understand. So let us talk about the demons. I was talking about the demons in the entropy, how it is connected. So James Maxwell is one of the pioneers in the 1800s. He's 1800s. James Maxwell is a electromagnetic. He's the one who gave the Maxwell equations. Every physicist, all the physics people must learn Maxwell equations. But he came up with a thought experiment. A thought experiment is that if there is a devil there sitting down there in a box, and there is a lot of molecules, so he can pick up. He has some kind of a door in between that. He wants to separate the fast-moving particles to the slow-moving particles. If he does that, he got a free energy. On the left-hand side, he got a refrigerator. He can get all the cold particles, so they're moving slow. And the particles that are moving fast on the right side, he has a gate. So whenever the fast-moving particle comes close to the door, he opens it up, he let it go that side, and he stops again with the cold particles. So that's why this demon stopped. He made cold particles one side, and the blue ones, and the hot particles on the right side. So on the left side, you can get a refrigerator, free energy. Then on the right side, you can cook food. So you got the free energy, you think, but there is a problem right there. It's not true. You get the free energy because the demon also needs food. Demon needs to think. He needs memory, because which are the slow particles, which are the fast-moving particles. There is no free energy. There is no free lunch. He has to be feeding his brain. It costs you. There is a cost of separating these things. That is a cost. He needs food. He needs energy. That is energy is connected with the information. He's consuming the food to separate these. He's using information to separate the cold and the hot particles. That's what he did. So there is a guy in Boston. What he was doing is that he was trying to kill his wife, or he was kill all his wife. He was looking at the internet searches. He's doing how to, you want to kill or you want to poison ex-spouses. You don't want to look at in the browser history. He was doing all this browser history. He's an idiot. But, that I'm not saying that is the worst thing to do to killing spouses. But also he's leaving some imprint in the universe. Yeah, that is a key. That's called a Landau limit. Every time you open a computer, not only is doing the browser history, is also every bit. There is a limit that every information bit has a limit, the energy associated with it. Every bit that's heat, it goes from the computer as a heat. That heat is called a Landau limit. That's a 0.0175 electronic volts. It is actually quantifiable. That big. He's also not only is doing a browser history, is putting a digital footprints in the computer. Is also putting a footprints on the universe itself. That is entropy is connected. When you release the heat, that is connected to the entropy. So that's a Landau limit. Is one of them. You can compute that actually. So limit of energy consumption of computation is a Landau limit, is defined in the Landau limit. So heat is connected with entropy. That limit, that bit, the heat releases through the computer, that is connected with the bit when you do computations. The second, that's a demon. So how is connected with the Twitter, the entropy? I said that Claude Shannon entropy is the first is actually a MIT professor. Before that, he was at Bell Labs. So I'm going to give you 3 languages here. Doctor, I can see probably Bob speaks that kind of, he spells everything like this. Doctor has admitted the patient. I have no problem reading it, and most of the people don't have any problem understanding that thing, even though it is a lot of spelling mistakes. Bob's original language. The reason is the reason is very funny reason. He will be tell you. The next one language is my language. Andariki hello. That's Telugu. I'm from India, Southern Indian language. It's a very complex language. So the third one is Jesus spoken language. That's Aramaic language. It is. So what is difference between all of them? If you use one letter missing in my language, my native language Telugu, you cannot understand what it is. If it is one, you have more questions in Aramaic, you don't even understand it. The lack of ignorance of a language, or ignorance of understanding, even if you learn it, and if one letter is missing, it is complicated to understand the second and third ones, Telugu and Aramaic, and several languages. English with the capital letters, grammar, punctuation, silent letters, they added the redundancy to make it easier to understand it. So the English language has the lowest entropy. That's why Twitter, you can put a small, you don't find a Twitter in my language, because it's impossible. If you miss one letter, that's it, hell breaks loose. So the Twitter has the lowest, the English language has the lowest the entropy. That's why you can be able to read it. It's much easier to read the English language. That's why English languages became a very popular, because Shannon computed actually the letter of that, the weight of that letter, the information is 1.0 to 1.5 bits per letter. That's what is the first peer-reviewed paper was. The paper is the one the weight of the he found out the entropy limit of the letters. That is the way it's called Shannon entropy. It is not only Shannon entropy gave a wonderful equations for the entire how to communicate. Shannon entropy is Shannon entropy gives you, so what are the minimum language you need to communicate with others? That is a mathematical construction he gave that one. The next one is Twitter. That's why Twitter is popular now. Elon Musk is having the troubles. But the aging, let us talk about aging, why it is connected with the aging. So in 1940, quantum physicist Erwin Schrödinger wrote a book called What is Life? What is life is what he says that negative entropy. You take a visible light, for example, on the planet Earth, we take a visible light, higher end, which is the useful energy, free high energy particles, photons. We take it. Every photon we get, we release 20 photons in the atmosphere as a heat. So we are taking one photon, we're releasing 20 photons to the atmosphere. That's way we can sustain the life. So that is he calls a negative entropy. Life is a negative entropy. He defines life as a negative entropy. It's very, very well thought out, very genius way of explaining the life, in fact. So when you're giving the heat away, that's connected with the entropy. So the photosynthesis is an entropy, basically based on entropy, that it takes the photons and then it releases a lot more photons to the 1 photon to the 20 photons we release 20 photons. One ratio of 1 to 20, in fact. That's why we sustain the life. The next one, how the aging. So your knowledge increases. Once you have information is connected with the entropy. Your knowledge is connected with the entropy. Your higher the knowledge and the entropy goes down. It's also ignorance goes up, your entropy goes up. So that you think about If you don't understand a EMR, EHR, that's the entropy is going up, basically. The next one is, then I'm going to talk about, you need to respect the information. Information is physical. It is exists in time, not in space. And not in the servers. That is not space. That's an abstract concept I'm talking about. Information is physical, exists in time, not in space. If you think that way, it is a very powerful way of thinking. The next one is, I'm going to talk about why we get old, why we don't get younger. The reason is because the laws of physics are time invariant. Particles don't experience time. Why we get older? Because there is a law, but it's not a law actually, it's a guidance, it's a property of the universe, is a second law of thermodynamics. Things go one way. That is good to bad. So all good things come to end. That is the law of entropy. So that's always evil, right? That the entropy always goes bad. So in this sense, there is two information. You can come down and sit down if you want to. I was a friend coming visiting me. So there is an information in the body. Is two kinds of information in the body. One is genetic information and epigenomic information. That is the ACGT, all the book that you have a genetic, that's a DNA, all the information that is important. The second one is they call the epigenomic information is, maybe I don't know much about it, but we can ask Dr. Joshua Tamayo-Sarver. Silent information regulators, those are all called. They are the one epigenome genetics they do. Then why there is a senescent cells that is they stop dividing. I'm not a biologist. I don't know anything about medicine. My understanding of entropy is connected with this one, just part of the information and the entropy. So epigenomics book, these are bookmarks. Basically, that I wanted to go back to a little bit quickly, just say that what is epigenomics is silent. These are the epigenomics are like a bookmarks. So they are misplaced. They actually, if you are misplaced them, then they read wrong ones. That's what happens in the Harvard doctor, I forgot his name. He comes on TV all the times. He talks about living forever. This is one of the reasons he says that we have all the information stored in the body, but we don't know where to look for it. But that is actually all the senescent cells. All the cells are very excellent communicators. But when they send a signal to the surrounding cells that they're getting messed up, and the secretome, that's called signals, they send it, actually reading those miscommunication causes that senescent cells to go bad. When you go, large number of senescent cells go unnoticed, that's about the tumor and cancer. They're useful for the wound healing and all those things, but in fact, if it is not paid, there's a pathological senescent cells can cause cancers and tumors. That's a bigger study is going on right now about that thing. So the information is the key. So information is going there, is not read. Information is connected with the entropy. So what is causing the information? Why we are reading information going bad? The reason is cellular stresses. There's a lot of cellular stresses there. Social determinants is one of the factors. Dr. Tamayo-Sarver is a PhD in biostatistics. He knows about patient population analytics and all those things. Is a part of the social determinants. In fact, what the studies found out, only medical care is 20%. The 80% of the care is other factor like social determinants. Feeling discriminated is actually, do you know that there is a research done, peer-reviewed research? It shortens the telomeres, which defines the aging process. So feeling discriminated, just the feeling itself, is shortening the telomeres in the cells, in the DNA, so So feeling that kind of information is all these stresses and cause entropy going up, and the information is lost, and chaotic information causes the entropy goes up. The next one on software. Where is the software? Actually, Wikipedia says software entropy is very important. When companies give, Epic is, I don't want to say what that company is, but they pick any Epic, just a funny name that is. If so, I don't want to make anybody upset. So software, the free updates are not free as you think, because I tell you why. If they release every time they release the versions, version 1, version 2, version 3, it's something goes wrong. I tell you why. What goes wrong? This is a software entropy goes higher, technical debt goes up. That's what they defined as a technical debt. The entropy goes higher. So that's a bigger problem, in fact. So the number of resources you need, if something goes wrong, all of them goes up. Your resources, your money, your people, all those things gets messed up. Only way to solve the problem is every time you check it out, how do you go back to the version 1? If you have a Windows, they used to give a Windows 11, and then they say if you want to switch back to 10, is one click. That is easy to do. That EMR should do that, because there is a reason for it. That's a entropy, to contain the entropy, that the chaos and the cost, everything associated with the entropy is higher entropy. So that's why you need to demand EMR companies to give. If I want to switch back, what are the resources required? What things is done, need to be done when I need to go back to the previous version? That's very important. That's why software entropy is a problem. It's a Wikipedia actually, it says that software entropy is a bigger problem. So information chaos is a cost you money and time. As you know, software nowadays, all these CEOs of the hospitals are dealing with this process. So there is another, this is I wanted to read this. Robert Ayers is a renowned economist and a physicist, an ardent supporter of law of entropy, writes, "We burn oil, we mine ores and smelt them into metals, which we fashion into goods, but we do so at the expense of the depletion of those irreplaceable natural resources." He's saying that if you are Amazon, you're a billion people ordering all the boxes, a billion boxes. Don't think they're magically appearing. Somebody has to dig the ores and bring it or produce some food. Whatever it is, it's costing a lot more. So these tech platforms are costing economic crisis. In fact, you don't realize it. A lot of the technology platforms is a big problem because it's raising the entropy of the entire planet. So it's not that straightforward as you're staying at home and getting everything is delivered to you. There is a price to pay. That's where we see a lot of fights in California and other places. So I didn't forget about what about the God and universe? This is a funny, but it is a hypothetical, but it's real in some extent. It's scientific. So universe marching towards so there is a debt. People like a billion bulbs and a billion stars causes the debt to the universe. This entropy goes higher and higher to the universe, always increases for the universe. Eventually, universe started giving away, paying this debt through its matter. It gives away planets, stars, galaxies. It gives away and they disappear. That's a debt it pays through that. Pays to who? We don't know. We can call it the God. We don't know yet. I don't want to say that because it's science talk. But people so the end of the last days of the universe, human civilization can survive at the edges of the event horizon of the black hole. They can survive because there is energy still there. Michio Kaku says that we're going to be so smart during the time that we'll try to survive around the edges of the black hole, and then we put our houses and everything there, the edges of the black hole. Humanity's last position. Still, you can't stop it. So what they do is there is one of the hypothetical way of solving the problem is that put everybody only once a year they wake up. They need to put them in sleep. because once they start eating and everything is the entropy goes up. When the entropy goes up, eventually then even the black hole is going to go away. So all the universe left with the black holes. Eventually the black holes are also going to be expiring one by one, and then eventually the people who live in the edges of the black hole, they're also, that's why they need to sleep for a whole year, and they get up for one day a week. And then this is the hypothetical position they say, the people, others say, that is that they get up once a year and they eat tacos, whatever it is, and they procreate and then go back to bed. Because the more you stay up, you're causing the death to the universe. Eventually, that is catch up. Even that one you can't stop. You can postpone it; it won't stop. The gods, the eventually the universe, you cannot file any more bankruptcies. Chapter 7 is gone. Chapter 11 is gone. Chapter 0. That's who does that. Maybe you can call gods, whatever it is. That's where some of the Roger Penrose and the physics people say that he start the universe again with the chapter 0. So it's gone. Everything is gone from the last days of so even the universe is gone. So that is the entropy story of the entropy. That is the story of entropy, you see. That is but it is not as abstract as you think. It's a mathematical formula. Chaos follows a precise map. That is a map that they have. That's why we can recognize the cancer patterns and everything else, because of the precise math of the chaos. That is the entropy, end story of the entropy. I'm going to bring Dr. Joshua Tamayo-Sarver. I'm having a little bit of problem with your last name, my last name. Dr. Welcome back, Dr. Sarver. What do you think of my presentation?
No, I really enjoyed it. I think talking about the move toward chaos probably describes our healthcare system pretty well.
It's never-ending. There's like a destructive process it's going through. One day it files bankruptcies, right? It goes bank. That is what it is.
Or the black hole solution.
we are in the black hole, surviving in the last days of the black hole in the healthcare. Absolutely agree with you. So what do you do with give me some background of your company and what you're doing nowadays, and what kind of innovation tools you use for the recruiting doctors and recruiting all the healthcare professionals?
Yeah, so I'm with Vituity. Vituity is a physician staffing organization. It's a Silicon Valley startup. It started in 1975 in a garage in Silicon Valley, and so it's been around a while. At that time, they decided that there were some guys, and back then it was guys. They were sitting around in a garage, and they decided they wanted to have a democratic, egalitarian partnership as a physician group instead of, at that point, usually one person would own a contract with the hospital to staff it, and then they'd get paid a lot of money, and then they would pay everybody else kind of crappy. And so they decided they were going to have a full partnership, and that's what they created. So, even today when you work with Vituity, you start out as a partner and you have a partnership. So it's kind of like a large law firm in that sense. Back then it was, guys in a garage. Now it's several thousand doctors, several thousand PAs. We own our own malpractice company, our own billing company.
Oh my God.
We've created a navigation company, a care coordination company, a substance abuse and navigation company. Within there, we have a subsidiary that's the innovation hub within Vituity called Inflect Health. So I'm the VP of innovation at both Vituity and Inflect Health. That partnership structure is really cool from an egalitarian perspective and from a let's focus on wellness and everybody working together. So it creates really nice culture, but it's a really complicated system if you're going to invest in companies and take positions and such. So we have this subsidiary, which is Inflect Health.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to talk with you. It is a pleasure. We have a lot of people, doctors now taking in charge of their own recruitment and their own positions, avoiding the middlemen. We need those kind of things now. We need people like your companies to exist. Thank you so much, Dr. Josh Tamayo-Sarver. Thank you. It's an honor for me.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
So if you can hang around for a few minutes, I'll come back and talk with you off the talk show. Then let me thank you all. That's a good night. Let me play this one. I'm going to play one.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.